All right, we're here in the castle section of the BrickFair Virginia show, and we're talking to Richard here. I noticed one of his amazing builds. This must have taken forever. You want to say anything about this?
Yeah, so I've been working on this thing for 5 or 6 years, I think, just slowly adding to it over time. I started on another castle, years before that, and eventually decided I wanted to build something a bit more spectacular. So I decided I wanted to go with like a more vertical sort of thing. So I built the underground section, which is sort of inspired by Mines of Moria with like the columns and stuff. And then for the keep itself, I am a big fan of like historical accuracy. So I looked up and researched like all of the rooms that like a castle would have in it normally. So
I noticed a lot of the detail in these rooms. I don't know if people do interiors, but I noticed it's very accessible through the back there.
Yeah, a lot of one of the other things that I noticed was that a lot of other castles will focus more on like really high fantasy, like almost more like cathedrals than actual castles, but they don't leave room for any interior detail. And that's my favorite part, the little fine point details with the furniture and the decorations. So I decided that I wanted to make, the back open and have it all lit up so that everyone could kind of see, all what's going on inside a castle. It's not just a big stone military fort. It's a full fortified residence that is used for all sorts of things.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's pretty cool. What are some of your proudest moments of this castle? What are your best builds? What are you most proud of?
Let's see. Structurally, just getting the thing to not collapse in on itself above the underground area was a bit of a challenge. I remember the first year that I brought it here, I was terrified it would cave in, and I was starting to cave in. But I did add some more reinforcements, and that's working fine now. Kind of like aesthetically from the build, I really like how the throne room turned out. It's really clean. Just like the scene, the king sitting on his throne holding court, receiving a report.
Right.
Although, surprising me every time, by far the fan favorite is everyone walks up and comments on the water wheel, which I motorized, so it's like constantly spinning. I've had people come up like, "Oh, this is the water wheel castle." And I'm like,
right.
I guess it is.
I love the water wheel, but I also love the water itself. Can you tell us about that and how you managed to make a three-dimensional lake or a river?
Yeah, I wanted to do something a little more interesting than just like, one layer with plates on it. And I was going to just do like stud dumping because I have a ton of just blue brick dumping, which a lot of people do, and It looks good. But the issue with that was actually the water wheel, because if I have a bunch of loose studs, it would all get jammed up and it would be awful. So I happen to have a lot of these trans blue bricks, and I started using them, and then I realized I could do a lot of stuff underwater as well. So I've got the One Rings under there somewhere. There's schools of fish, a sea turtle. There's like a skeleton under the bridge, and like all sorts of other things that I managed to work in there.
Yeah, that's what popped out to me is like the detail that you got underneath the water. I noticed a turtle right away, and I thought it was really cool looking. Also, what stands out to me is probably the most simplistic thing is the drawbridge. That is probably my favorite piece of the whole thing because of the wood grain look, and it looks so clean. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, that was my most recent addition. The front gatehouse originally was one of the first things I built, and as such was probably one of the worst. So over COVID, I tore the entire thing down and rebuilt it. So it has fully functional. I can show you here. The drawbridge is fully functional. There's cranks on the inside that can pull it up. So and that can go all the way up. It's a little slow, so I don't go all the way up. But what isn't quite as slow is the portcullises, which you'd want to be fast in real life. You can drop them down and they'll fall. So in a real medieval defensive situation, you drop both your portcullises, and now whatever invading enemy is in the middle is now trapped. So I've got these holes here in the middle and through the top. They're called murder holes. So once the invading force has entered the gatehouse and is trying to break through, but is trapped by the second portcullis, here's where you have your hot sands, being heated to scalding temperatures, and you dump it down the hole onto the invaders.
Exactly. That's pretty historically accurate. That's pretty amazing. Another thing I like about your build is the simplistic use of the profile brick. With what do you call these? The gray.
What, these?
Yes.
Yeah, the profile bricks.
Well, the feature itself in the castle.
Oh yeah, the feature itself, the top on the top layer is crenulations. So the top is it's the crenel. It goes up and down. You shoot past it. There's also a more kind of advanced version of it that I learned about after I built the top of the castle that I incorporated into the gatehouse, called a matriculation. And it's really the reason why a lot of castles have these areas that kind of go down below the crenulations, is that there's holes between them for archers to either shoot straight down or to drop things down. Because otherwise, if you get right up to the base of the castle, the archer would have to be leaning out half their body over it in order to actually get there, hit their target.
So this is a pretty massive build. And how long did you say it took?
So it was over the course of like 5 or 6 years, working on and off. My best guess is something like 500 hours, probably more, of pure building time.
Wow. And how many years have you been coming to BrickFair or shows?
Since 2008. I've only missed one BrickFair that actually happened since then.
Wow, that's dedication. And where are you from?
I'm from Maryland.
Okay, so it wasn't too long to get here?
No, yeah. Originally, when I went for the first time when I was a little kid, I saw it on the LEGO website. It was being advertised that they were going to be there, and I hadn't even heard of it before. And it was just at that point, it was in Chantilly. Or not Chantilly, Tyson's Corner. It's in Chantilly now. And it was like, oh, that's so close. And I asked my parents, and like, okay, yeah, we'll take you. And last minute, day before, I signed up and went, and been coming back ever since.
So is Castle your favorite theme, or is this your first build, or?
Yeah, it's not my first build overall. I brought a few other things here. It's by far my first build even close to this big. Castle's definitely my favorite theme to build. Runner-up favorite is Bionicle. Got to rep that. It's a less well-known or less popular theme, although not here. Here is the biggest gathering of Bionicle fans anywhere.
I did notice that. It's like a quarter of the show is Bionicle.
Yeah. So the part of the reason for that is there's the guy who ran the biggest fan site of Bionicles local to here. So yeah, I'll put that to pull on all the fans here.
Okay, that explains it then. Well, I appreciate you talking about your build with us. We'll look forward to seeing it on YouTube. My channel is thealliance.com. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
All right.